I do love me a good wall, and this is a really old brick wall, quite weather worn and in need, some would say, of pointing up. I would say otherwise, because old walls like this are great places for invertebrates to overwinter. But there's one specialised invertebrate that I'm after today, and it's a woodlouse. And it lives in walls and on buildings, especially old buildings, because I'm at Cuckney Church today, where, as you can see, fine examples of both normal brickwork walls but also sandstone walls as well. It should be quite easy to find, and it's an attractive species, at least it can be when it's adult. One of the good things that draws me quite often to Cuckney Churchyard is this. I don't know of many old and now fenced off and disused cemeteries or churchyards. I must pop in here one night. Maybe there could be glowworms here. This is completely untouched. It's never cut. It's a fabulous place. At the moment, it's full of redwings and song thrush, which are utilising and enjoying the berries in the yews on the left hand side. There goes a song thrush now, followed by a redwing and another redwing. But I must come and investigate and spend a bit more time in this churchyard. The only thing is, there's very little to look underneath, but there could be a whole range of species, especially centipedes, millipedes and isopods as well. Woodlice to you and me. Quite interesting, the stonework on these walls. I've never noticed this before, this feature on these larger corner pieces. They're on everywhere. These large stone blocks. They've all got these chipped out patterns. Never noticed it before. But what I'm looking for on the walls of the churchyard here is any loose mortar. You tend not to get a great deal on most churches. But underneath that loose mortar, there's one particular beetle that I found here twice. It's a ground beetle of all things, a small beetle called Ocis quinquistriatus. It's a lovely little thing though, despite being small. It has sort of a metallic bluish hue to it. And both specimens have been found, one just here, one just around the corner, just under little tiny flakes of stone where the beetle can get to. It's only a small species, and I'll drop a photo in here so you get an idea of what it looks like. Now we've got a young one here. This is a young Porcellio spinicornis. They tend to be quite active. In the event that we don't find an adult, I'll put photos in, but they don't like exposure, but generally pale. May look just the same as any other woodlice to you, but the big giveaway here with this species is the dark head, and it gets darker as they mature. This is about half a grown, maybe a third grown, but they're beautifully patterned, these. Always found on walls. I have recorded one at home, funny enough, and I was amazed, and that was a stonker of a example, beautifully marked. But this is Porcellio spinicornis. Be nice if we can get an adult, but I will put in plenty of photos to illustrate the species. This is on the walls of the churchyard. You can see that's where I got this piece from. If you take mortar out or remove loose mortar, don't go banging at it with a hammer and chisel, otherwise the vicar or get quite irate. And you might have to give a decent amount of money to the church funds, but at least we've found one, because this is the first one I've actually found on the church walls here. There's been plenty of Porcellio scaber, which is the common rough woodlouse that you'll get in your garden, but look on your house walls, you can get this species, and it is a lovely woodlouse. We'll put that safely back. I'm happy if that mortar stays where it is, and we'll have a look, see if we can find some more. This is quite a clean church, and when I say clean, I mean the mortar is in good order. There's very little that's loose, and there's very little stonework itself that's flaking. So in terms of looking for the target species or any other invertebrates, quite limited on Cuckney Church. But as a general rule, if you do decide to go and look for this species or any other species under stone, be prepared for somebody to come up and ask you what you're doing. It's not classed as normal activity to be staring or looking at walls in depth. But usually, when you tell people what you're doing, and if you tell them in the right manner, they're quite interested. Either that, or they'll just walk off in a huff and wish they'd never asked. This is the northern side of Cuckney Church. Consequently, it's quite shaded here and damper. Sometimes northern walls of buildings are better than the heat-prone southerly walls. I don't suppose a lot to manage to survive on the southerly walls of Cuckney Church during this last summer gone by. And there may well be evidence sometimes with some species that they'll move around, find conditions more to the liking. So quite often you can find some species in particular on the cooler and damper northern walls of buildings, and likewise you can find a different array of species on the hotter southerly walls. Churchyards like this that are unkempt are often great places for invertebrates, especially woodlice, centipedes and millipedes. There's only me, I think, recording them in Nottinghamshire presently, and has been for a number of years since Dillis and I were recording them. There has to be quite a number of species awaiting discovery, especially the smaller species, but many places, especially in the south parts of the UK, those southern counties, churchyards hold a wide array of invertebrates, and especially those churchyards like this, which is very rare that it has an area such as this that is unkempt and untouched. A lot of it on this side, there's a lot of bramble here and invading scrub, so it's difficult to access, but that bit over there is fine, and I should make more effort to come and try and record here. There has to be something rare tucked away in this old churchyard that's now looking nice that the sun's coming out. Doesn't that look nice? I must admit I do have a strong liking and affinity with graveyards. Doesn't mean I'm one of the undead, but I do keep some strange hours, I suppose. But when churchyards are left like this to grow and grow wild, I think they become quite magical places. I'm convinced that there's something good here, and I need to come one day and spend a couple of hours here and see if we can turn anything up. But it looks lovely in this weather. There's even a few caddis flies making a dash for it. That's 3 that I've just seen. Amazing what a bit of sun does. But that just looks beautiful, that does. It's good here for the lichen lovers as well. I do like lichen. Find it fascinating how it can survive. I mean, the temperature that this stonework would have got to in the summer, the lichen just dries up and looks completely dead. You get a bit of rain, voila, you've got life again. You have to admire it for that. It's an incredible living organism. It has a rather strange layout. Geologically, I've come to the far end that you may well recognise from the shot a while ago. When you get to the far end of the cemetery, then all of a sudden it drops down by about 30 odd feet by the looks of it. It's gradually raised up at this end. It always makes it seem like it's not a natural layout, but there is one attended grave here that I've noticed, and that's of a private soldier of the Notts and Derbyshire regiment that died during the First World War, aged just 20 years. But from this angle, and on a day like it is now, the church looks a picture. I suppose churches always do. Here we are. There's some more. That one there and that one there. At least 2 Porcellio spinicornis. The smaller one may well be difficult to tell at this stage, but that's slightly larger than the one we saw a while ago. And there's the second one. There's a couple of Porcellio scaber on here, but the difference between Porcellio scaber, which that top one looks like, the head is unicolorous with the body, whereas in spinicornis there's a smaller spinicornis there, and that one, and this one especially, the head is always darker. This is a nicely marked individual, this one here. And this is just on the front wall here at Cuckney Churchyard. Now I've just pulled this piece off, and there's all 3 species that I would expect here. There's an Aniscus ocellus, there's 3 or 4 of these. There's some Porcellio scaber, which all these pretty much are Porcellio scaber, but some of the smaller ones are in fact Porcellio spinicornis. We've got 2 here, and there's another one there and there and there, and possibly there. So you've got several Porcellio spinicornis. And this is an Aniscus ocellus, which is the common smooth woodlouse. This is one of the 2 species guaranteed to have in your garden, and all the rest, barring those spinicornis, are Porcellio scaber, which is the common smooth woodlouse. Now, scaber can be grey like that. Occasionally, it can be reddish brown like that, and there are some fabulous colour forms of Porcellio scaber. Woodlice are extremely interesting. They're fabulous things to get into. You could do so much useful work as well for your county woodlouse recorder. They're very much under recorded, and yet they're seen by everyone pretty much every day. So that's 3 species just on one bit of loose mortar. Now, here's some nice spinicornis, especially there's a pale one just here. Again, in with a mix, there's a number of spinicornis on here, but a lot of these are Porcellio scaba, but this is a really nice individual. It's sort of still juvenile, sub-adult, so not that much to look at yet, but very obvious with that black head, and the posterior end is usually slightly darkened as well. Once they get older, they can be really attractively marked, flecked in yellow. Same as Aniscus ocellus, which we showed you, which is the common smooth woodlouse. That can also be very attractively coloured. Woodlice just aren't just dull brown jobs. There's a lot more to them. They're very interesting to learn to identify. You've not got that many species to go at either. And most are very easily keyed out to species. Now here's a very attractive and so far obliging spinicornis, but they can be much better than this. They can be flecked with bright sulphur yellow down either side of that sort of darkish dorsal stripe, but this is the largest one I've found. You can see how the head is darker and the posterior end often has some darkening to it as well, but obviously specimens vary. This one's decided it doesn't like the sunshine. I'm quite fortunate to live in the Mansfield area of Nottinghamshire because we have a lot of stone walls like this, quite a few churches as well. Always nice having an hour or so wandering around just looking at what's on a wall. Unfortunately, I've yet to find a pseudoscorpion on a wall. No doubt that will come in time, but I'm happy finding today's quarry quite easily. Porcellio spinicornis is an attractive species, and it's not just old stone walls like this that it can be found on. It can be found on brick buildings as well. Say, I was stunned and very surprised to find one on the house wall once, but it is an oldish house, but it is brick built. But anywhere where woodlice can access underneath the brickwork or underneath the loose mortar, you can expect to find Porcellio spinicornis, provided it's not some shabby new build. Isn't that a lovely view? There's something nice and calming about churches and churchyards. They're not morbid places, but they're great for invertebrates. Anyway, it's time I went and put £1 on the collection plate, otherwise the vicar won't be pleased at all. It's been nice that at least the sun's come out while I've been here. Maybe the old saying is true after all, that the sun does indeed shine on the righteous.